All right, so I just played with the direct adjustments of the toucan. Right? Now, I'm going to do that to the mouth of the peacock, which is here. And I'm going to start with image adjustment levels. And I'm going to push the midtone slider either brighter or darker. What does it need? I'm just going to go just a little bit brighter. I'm going to limit the highlights a little bit. Say OK. Now, image adjustments, color balance. And I'm just trying to get it to feel like it's in the same world. Right? I don't think it needs too much. And then, if I need a big swing, I go to hue saturation. And I'm going to make it a little bit pinker and just a little bit more saturated. And then, because that saturation really made the highlights really bright, I'm going to go to levels. I'm going to limit those highlights a little bit more. All right, now I am ready to scene together these two. And so the tool for that is blending soft into soft. Even though the feathers are different, they're feathers into feathers. So I'm going to use my eraser at 100% opacity, 0% hardness, and I'm going to get rid of that hard edge. So this is what's called the internal edge. And the lip. And I'm getting rid of that crisp, hard edge and replacing it with a soft transition. All right, let's see, peacock. Now that I've gotten rid of the hard edge, I can start blending with a lower opacity eraser. Just like we did with the ocean in the landscape or the sky. And that helps the colors to kind of come through, and it helps the textures to blend. There are other tricks we can use, but that will do the job for right now. Later I'll show you how I can bring that purple all the way down. Now the eye, same thing. Image adjustments first, levels, darken the eye a little bit, limit the highlights. Color balance, I'm going to put a little bit more cyan into it, a little bit more blue into it. But I don't want to lose that warmth in the highlights. There we go. And then hue saturation if needed. Big shifts. The mistake students make is they do this kind of thing. They push the sliders too far on these tools, and that actually takes away a lot of pixel information. So you just want to move it a little bit around the middle and see if it should go to the left or to the right. Then once you've done those, you're going to blend. And when you're doing internal edges, which is what I'm worried about right now, you start with 100% opacity on soft edged eraser. I get rid of that hard edge. Right. And then, once that hard edge is gone, we can go to a lower opacity, soft edged eraser, and we can start blending it. And I'm at about 30% opacity, because you can always get more opaque just by going over it multiple times. All right. So that's my head so far. Blend it in a little bit more. No, I guess I want it more opaque there. All right, pretty good. This is why I also like real photos instead of AI. You get these little kind of puckerings and textures that AI would never give you, right? That gives it some flaws and some believability for creature design. Okay, next. I need to save my work. Because if I look up at the upper left-hand corner and I see that it doesn't have my name there, it means I haven't saved. And if I lost power or if Photoshop glitched on me, I wouldn't have a project. So I'm going to say File, Save As. This is where I name it. So I say Karl, Assignment 2. Remember, you're always asked to use your name and then some description. And this is my Popeye bird lizard. Okay, I'm going to save it to the desktop. So I hit Command D, and it's going to save as a Photoshop file. Then I want to make sure I can see it on the desktop. Here it is. I'm going to move it to the middle, mark it green. That's my working format. Now, to keep updating, saving it, all I have to do is hit Command S. And that will save it as I go. Okay, now I get to bring in more reference. So what does the head connect to? Connects to the chest and the neck. And I've got a few options for that. Let's see, one I was interested in is this Gila monster. So I drag and drop it in. It's a little small, but I can tilt it up. And I'm going to flip it by right-clicking. And I was thinking this could be an interesting neck piece. Right? It's shot at night, so the colors aren't great. But that Gila monster texture is really cool. So I'm just going to do a rough cutout. A lot of overlap. More than I need, and then I'm going to do Command J. Now, in order to organize things, this is what I like to do. I like an organized factory floor, right? So I've just put the engine together. So now let's group the engine all onto the top of my layers. So it's these three. So what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and select all three of those layers, and then click the folder icon in the layer window to group them. And it's going to call that the head. And I'm going to mark that whole layer by right-clicking where the eyeball is as red. And that will let me, even though they're separate layers, it will let me move the whole group together. And it will let me transform the whole group together. So now I'm starting to work on the body. So this goes underneath the head. I've got a neck component there. I've got this monkey body, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to flip it horizontal. Because my creature, the head is facing that way, but the body is twisting and facing this way. So I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so that those shoulders are about the same. And then I'm going to use lasso to rough cut it with a lot of overlap, right? So even though I don't need the head and I don't need the tail, I do need the whole chest area. Command J, turn off the smart object. I can use the move tool to move it because I'm going to be building now the head and neck. And I want my neck piece to go above the head piece. Kind of that texture. The head turning. So I got scales and fur. Maybe I even run it down like that. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, next. Neck, chest. I like that front paw, but I need the back. I'm going to bring this in. Kind of more reptilian. Going to flip it horizontal. And this comes from a Pixabay photograph of a toy, but its anatomy is very nice. And it's already cut out. So Pixabay will sometimes have PNG. You can see the toy in the head, but I'm not using the head. I'm using the back tail and the pelvis, right? So I could just put it behind, but I also want to cut it out, right? So what parts do I need? I need the legs. I need the pelvis. I need all that good stuff. Command J, turn off the smart object. Okay, so now I've got the body. How can I start seaming this together? Well, I want to start by seeing if I need any other connector pieces, or can I just move the head right onto it? Will it have enough to connect? And it looks like I've got enough overlap between those textures. And I'm going to show you some techniques to kind of fill it in. So let's get started. The head goes on top of everything. It's the focal point. But what's underneath it should be trimmed. So what do I need to do? I need to trim the top part out like that. I need to play with the bottom of the head so I can get what I want to transition. So on the toucan, which is in the head group, I want to cut away from the bottom, and I can just do that with a 100% opaque large eraser with 0% hardness. So again, this is internal edges. Okay. So now what I can do is I can see the textures well enough that I can use direct adjustments to adjust the colors on that neck. So I start with levels, and I want it to feel lit in a similar way than the neck of the head part. Right. I can also Command T and warp it so that the yellow kind of overlaps with the yellow. The thing I don't like is all of that grass that's in there, but I'll show you how we can fix such things as needed. Okay, next, I'm going to go to color balance. All right, and then I'm going to go to hue saturation. You see how I'm trying to get that, even though the textures are different, I'm trying to get the color and the lighting similar. All right, I'm going to pause it there. So we're rough cutting just the neck, and I did direct adjustments first. And even though the lighting direction isn't right, this is where we get to some of the new tools. And I'll get into them heavily with the next video. But you see how this neck is light here and dark here, and this reference is lit the same. This is what's called dodge and burn. Burn allows you to use levels but with a tool. So I'm darkening the midtones